Hello, welcome back to another review. Today I'm going to be covering the Stardom World Climax of 2022, Day 2 that happened on March 27th of 2022. We had a lot of awesome and interesting matches here today, so let's get into it. The first match we have here is Hana versus Mai Sakurai. Now, going into this match, I was a little concerned that they were going to take the belt from Hana already, purely because Mai is now in DDM, and as we all know, DDM must dominate at the expense of everyone. Hana is really coming to her own, pulling off some moves I never would have expected from her. Mai's elbow drop still looks cool, and I'm glad she's still doing it. I really wish this leg move that Hana does was her finisher. I feel like it would really make her stand out more in Stardom. Hana went on to win the match, and after, Hana would come back after a very long time of being out of Stardom. She took time off to focus on her schooling. She is now back and announces that she wants a shot at Hana's Future of Stardom title, and I gotta say I am very excited for this, as Hana was always one of my favorites of the three sisters. I felt like she probably had the most potential if she were to overcome a lot of her shyness, and from the looks of her, she looks like she might have just done that, so I can say I am fairly excited for this match. Next we have the Cinderella Rumble match, as they are calling it, that has a considerable amount of entries from outside promotions. We have Gato Move, Just Tap Out, Diana, and Marvelous. Since none of the wrestlers were eliminated until every single wrestler was in the match, I will now go through the order in which every single wrestler came out. First we have Unagi Sayaka, then Mina Shirakawa, and from Marvelous, Ai Hosen, and my personal favorite from Marvelous, Maria. From Stars we have Momo Kogo and Sai Ida. From Just Tap Out we have Ioe and Tomoka Inaba. From Diana we have Nanami and Haruka Umasaki. For Queen's Quest we have Miyu Amazaki and Lady C. For Odotai we have Ruaka Sakikashima and Rina. Then Waka Tsukiyama, then Yuna Mizumori, and Mei Suruga, both from Gato Move. There isn't much for me to say about this match since there are so many spots involving so many different of the wrestlers throughout this entire thing. I can only recommend that you go watch it. It is kind of a bit of an amateur hour, as the majority of the people participating are pretty new to wrestling, or they've only been wrestling for a couple of years. At the end, Mei Suruga ended up winning, which would lead her to go on later to challenge the winner of the High Speed title belt for a High Speed title match. Next we have Utami Hayashishita versus Mirai, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't really pay too much attention to this match. As you all know, I'm not the biggest fan of Utami, as I find her kind of boring in the ring, and I find her being severely overpushed over more deserving people in Stardom. So when she is in a match against a DDM member, I kind of lose all interest, as that is the two biggest things about Stardom I am not a big fan of. I don't really like Utami's push, and DDM's dominance over the other wrestlers has reached a ridiculous level to the point where it legitimately is draining the joy of what I achieve watching Stardom. So I just quickly skimmed through the match just now to see if there was any highlights that I could put on here, but there just wasn't any. It was a typical Utami match. What was interesting though is we have here Mirai going to the back after her loss, and it kind of is building up the change she's about to go through, where she joined Shuri after leaving DDM. That's really the only notable thing from this match to talk about, I guess. Sorry. Next we have a match that I think all of us were looking forward to. Momo Watanabe versus Hazuki in what they're calling a Generation of the Destiny match. I'm not really sure what that means, but it's a fitting name. One of the cool things about this show is that many of the matches have nothing to do with belts. They are entirely feud-based, and that is something that I've been wanting from Stardom for a very long time, because it kind of used to be like that back in the day when Io would run rampant, is that no one was a real threat to her, so a lot of the feuds had really nothing to do with the belts that she was holding, and so it was more about story and personality clashes than, hey, I want your belt. After some move stealing and disrespectful slaps from Momo, we got to see a bit of old Hazuki. For those who don't know, Hazuki had somewhat of a vicious side to her. She was one of the most brutal people on the roster back in the day, and here you were seeing a little bit of what she used to do to people on the regular. Some highlights from the match here, the face wash kicks from Hazuki to Momo. These are some of the most brutal face wash kicks I've ever seen her do, and wow. I don't know how Momo does not have a huge headache after this. This kick by Momo seems a little bit more stiff than usual. This Samato to the back looked extremely painful. I feel like they got more connection with this headbutt than they originally intended, and then shortly right after, Hazuki seems to kind of lean into this kick here, and I was a little worried, I'm going to admit, when I was watching this, because a actual solid looking headbutt and then right after her leaning into what looks like a pretty stiff kick, I'm worried she could have very well have gotten a concussion from this match. There is so much more to this match than I'm showing, and I'm not going to be showing every little highlight that I have from the match. That's going to be for you to find when you go watch it. But Momo wins the match, and she does her typical heel thing and kind of rubs it in Hazuki's face. I got to admit, I absolutely love this match. It was one of the best matches of the night, and it was the best match of the night up until this point. There was just something about seeing Momo and Hazuki go at it again. There was very, very much brutality and a lot of really cool spots that I did not show here. So if you want to see a very stiff, awesome kind of emotion and or history-filled match, I recommend watching this one. Alright, moving on to the next match. We have Azumi versus Natsupoi versus Koguma, a three-way match for the high-speed title. This match was actually pretty good. There really wasn't too many downsides. I highly recommend it. We start out the match with some high-speed action and tomfoolery, a lot of complicated sequences going back and forth. It was pretty constant in high speed throughout the entire match. There really wasn't too many downsides, like downtimes in the entire match. And clearly Koguma owes Azumi money. Holy cow. And Natsupoi. Azumi ends up winning the match, retaining her title in her first defense since re-winning the high-speed belt. Mei Suruga then comes out afterwards to challenge for the title, claiming that she has won a match earlier in the show and she deserves a title match. And I gotta be honest, I am super excited for this. I have always liked Mei Suruga. I've always said she's one of my favorite wrestlers outside of Stardom, so awesome. Kyrie has finally returned, and even though this isn't her first match back, this is actually her second match. I am not going to be covering day one, as that is just too much wrestling for me to cover. I am super excited to see Kyrie back. I think everyone is. Kyrie is just one of the best talents in the world. She's one of the most natural baby faces on the planet. I was at one time not really too into Kyrie coming back because I felt like, so many of the Stardom wrestlers were getting their spots taken from them from these outsiders already, that Kyrie coming back, even though that she was a Stardom talent, it would just be another spot given to someone else other than the people who've been working for it for like the last 5 years. But since DDM has reigned supreme and the only one who can stand up to them is Utami apparently, at this point, there's really not much damage that Kyrie could do to the roster that isn't already being done by DDM and Utami. So, welcome back, Kyrie. Some highlights from the match would include this part here where Kyrie was going to jump out on Starlight, but she disappeared. But Starlight was sneaking up on her and got the drop on her. And you gotta love moonsaults to the outside of the ring. This was amazing and great. Good job, Starlight. It is so nice to see Spears back in Stardom. Also this. Jesus, Kyrie, don't kill her. Kyrie put on a very brutal looking anchor lock. Holy cow, like, Starlight Kid has no back if she can survive this. And of course I gotta show the insane elbow, but this one was a little different. As you can see, she almost landed right on Starlight's head. That could have been very, very bad. So Starlight Kid loses and gets one last attack on Kyrie as revenge, and they both just kind of walk to the back and nothing else was really said. Next match we have an 8-man tag, DDM versus Prominence. Prominence is that group that split off from Ice Ribbon because they wanted to do their own thing. It involves Suzu Suzuki, Risa Sera, Mochi Miyagi, and Akane Fujita. Versus DDM, Julia, Thekla, Micah, and Himika. This match was incredibly brutal and incredibly personal, as a very large portion of the match was literally just Julia versus Suzuki. They were in it for such a large part of this match that I actually forgot that it was an 8-person match for a while, because everyone was just standing on the sidelines while those two beat the crap out of each other. Seriously, if you went into this match not knowing anything about the story, you could get it from this match. You could see that there was some personal beef between Julia and Suzuki. Seriously, I highly recommend this match. It was amazing. It was very, very good. Even though it involved DDM, at least they were beating up and dominating someone outside of Stardom instead of the people that we know and love. There were so many moments from this match that I could have put on here as a highlight, almost the entire match. But I didn't want to show off too much of it, mostly because I want you guys to see it for the first time watching the match and not my review, if you do watch my review before the show for some reason. The aftermatch promo was pretty emotional, as both Julia and Suzu could be seen crying a little bit. There is a lot of personal history between these two, and they laid it all out in this match and the aftermatch promo. The match promo afterwards basically was stating that Suzu is not going to give up. She's going to try to destroy Julia as much as she can, and Julia welcomes it and says, "You will never beat me." Next, we have a match that I was the most looking forward to. Saya Kamitani versus Tam Nakano for the white belt. Everyone knew this was going to be amazing, and it was. I'm not going to be showing too much from this match, as I don't really want to spoil too much from the last couple matches, so that you guys have something to look forward to when you're watching it yourself if you have not watched it already. I will say though that this was match of the night, and both of them just absolutely killed it. Some quick highlights before I go on to the main event. We have this twisting DDT from Tam to the outside, very awesome. Kamitani once again proving that she is the most insane person in Stardom, and Tam as an accomplice. Tam trying to one-up Kamitani by pulling an old EO move. I'm not going to show it here, I'll leave it up to you to go watch the rest. This match was absolutely amazing, front to finish. Everything about it was perfect. There was very few mistakes, if there were any, and the drama and emotion and storytelling that these two put on was perfect. So for this final match, the red belt match between Shuri and Mayu, I'm not going to show any clips from it. I'm just going to talk about the aftermath that happened afterwards. It's a very long match. It is a main event Japanese style match. You know, it's a very slow build. It gets a little bit bigger and more intense towards the end. And with Shuri, there's really not too much of an explosive style. She's more of like a calculated, you know, slowish kind of wrestler, so there really isn't too many like highlights to point out that are worth putting in here that you haven't already seen earlier in the show that are done either more intensely or more fast. So let's just talk about what happens after the match. First, you have Nanae giving her the red belt after the match. If you don't know, Nanae was the first ever red belt holder and one of the people who started Stardom. She held it for about 2-ish years. Then Kyrie and Kamitani come out and do a little funny gag where they're trying to teach Shuri how to do the old closing out style of Stardom that they would always do after every single match. Shuri said she didn't really know, and they, you know, faked being surprised and fell on the ground. It was very cringy, but let's move on from that. So then they all, you know, close out the show. It kind of sounded like Shuri had a little bit more to say, but was interrupted by Kyrie. And Kyrie, if you guys don't know, if all of you know about Kyrie is from the WWE, then you might not know that she was kind of a bully in that sense, and that she would kind of overpower you with the mic and promos, and not in like a malicious way, but that was kind of her character, is like everyone just let Kyrie do whatever she wanted because she was so charismatic. And I feel like they're kind of keeping her the same way that she was back in the day, so I'm very excited about that. And yes, Kamitani is wearing the belt upside down. That was a huge joke online. Everyone was trying to say if there was like some kind of hidden meaning behind it, but no, it's just Kamitani. It's the same Kamitani that spilled the news that Takumi Iroha was a part of the 5-star. It's Kamitani is essentially Mayu, just crazier, you know, like just just accept it. There was no hidden meaning behind that. She just messed up. So overall, I really liked this show. I thought it was an amazing show. After the first couple of matches, you got some real bangers in there, and it's really nice to see Kyrie back. And I'm really looking forward to seeing this Cinderella tournament, as I have a pick to win. As of right now, I already know that my pick didn't win, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.